I've made a mess. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today's a pretty exciting episode for me. It's the new year. It is 2026, and I am done talking about my Twincam FXR build. It is time to actually get to working on it. Before we get started on the bike, we actually have to do some work to the parts or components that are going to go into the motorcycle. So on today's episode, what we're going to do is we're going to get the transmission fully ready to go in, or 90% ready to go in, and then the primary. If you guys don't know, this is obviously out of a bagger. It's got this ugly shifter shaft, kind of bulky piece up in the front, and it doesn't have a hole for my actual shifter sleeve. So to make this resemble what came out of the bike, I'm going to show you guys what it takes, kind of, sort of. Aside from knowing what this setup is, I've done very little research or watched other people's videos. I'm just going to go from what I see with my brain or my eyes, and I'm thinking with my brain on what it takes to actually make this work. I've caught a couple little glimpses, but I really, truly, I don't have like a strong reference video that I've used. I've just kind of looked at some things. I've logically thought it out, and I think I have a technique that's going to work on this. Not only work on this, but hopefully it helps you guys at home when it comes to your Twincam bike. So let me get the camera set up, explain to you what exactly I have here, and what we're going to do to make all this work on my Twincam FXR. So what we're looking at here, this is all out of a 2001 Harley-Davidson Touring model. So it's going to be your Road King, Road Glide, Electric Glide, all those pretty much same transmission, engine, primary combination. The reason I went with the 2001 still uses the 5/8 bore pivot shaft here. You can use just a stock FXR swing arm if you chose to. I'm obviously going with a billet swing arm, but I'm using all FXR components. So it's an FXR swing arm, FXR spherical bearings, all that kind of stuff. When we get into this primary, I'm going to show you everything on it and why the 2001 is the ideal setup for a do-it-yourselfer kind of guy. Like myself, I feel like this is the ultimate combination to have, and when we start working on this, I'll explain that more. In the earlier video for me working on the engine, you saw that we ordered a bolt kit from alloybolts.com. They also do Allen bolts and stuff like that as well, but obviously I went with all the ARP stuff. I need to swap out a bunch of this hardware. However, this thing, as you see, a little rusty, a little crusty. So I am getting a new trans side cover. I just haven't ordered it yet. This bike will be running Dyna mid control, so I don't have to have the FXR specific, which actually changes the cable angle. So rather than coming out about here, it's down a little further to make way and clear the brake arm and all that. We don't need to worry about that stuff. But however, we can change out the actual trap door hardware and then our top hardware here with our new ARP. And then I'm gonna change out this oil filler. The reason being, these are just a push cap and, oh, well, look, my cap just came off. Now I gotta sit here and try to wrestle this stupid thing to get it out. And boom, finally got it out. Irritating. This thing, when these things wear out, sometimes can actually blow out from under pressure. I prefer a screw-in style. So we're gonna remove this with a nice piece from Drag Specialty. But I saw this on, Ashley from Unit 6 had this on his tour build bike. He kind of gave me the link of where to purchase one at. So it comes with a screw-in style dipstick. It's a nice little chrome piece to add on. Should look really cool. While we're at it, we're gonna go ahead and replace the lower oil pan gasket. Once this thing's in the frame, it's kind of a pain in the butt to do it. So I want to take the oil pan off. I want to clean it really good, clean out the baffle and everything, and put a fresh gasket on there. So this is a Cometic gasket. Again, just like with the Dyna, your transmission and your engine oil both come through the same, not the same drain holes, but they do come through the oil pan. So you do need to drain both of those if you're going to service anything with the oil pan. Everything should be drained. There's still going to be some residual, so it is going to make a mess up here. Hopefully not too big of a mess, but a little bit of a mess. So let's get this thing flipped over and start pulling that oil pan off. Now, definitely much easier than when we did this on the Dyna, obviously because it's outside the bike. But what we're gonna do, I'm pulling all these little bolts out, all the way around, so that we can get this oil pan off and clean the inside of it out. So we got our oil pan. It actually looks really, really nice and clean inside there. This is what they call your baffle. So it's kind of got these little springs underneath it. Yep, Got 2 springs underneath there. Ooh, making a mess. All we're gonna do is we're gonna clean all this up, clean this thing. We're gonna clean that pan inside and out, put the new gasket on it, stick it back on here, re-torque it. It's pretty straightforward. Now you'll see as I'm peeling this stuff back, it's leaving like this hard ridge of the silicone that's part of the original gasket. You got to make sure you get all that off. Also without nicking up your cover. This is aluminum, so if you go in there and you just dig it or whatever, it could gouge it and create a leak there. Take your time, do this correct, and then when you get done, make sure you wash it out really, really good, because this is really going to determine whether or not you're going to have a leak down the road. And the way that this FXR is, with the motor and everything in there, not that easy just to pull the oil pan. So I'm trying to get it all correct this time around so that I hopefully, fingers crossed, never have an issue with this. So I'm gonna finish cleaning this up. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and rinse all this stuff out. And while this is drying, we're gonna tackle these primaries. There's a lot of different ways that you can put mid controls on your engine swapped FXR. As you see, Justin used the Speed Merchant kit. Bolts onto the transmission on the right side, and on the left side it actually utilizes a few of the bolts on your primary and bolts on that way. Speed Merchant, Boosted Brad, Hog Halter, there's a few other companies, that's how they do it. I already have the Dyna mid control mounts welded onto my frame, so I'm going to use the traditional Dyna mounts. Reason being is I don't want my feet up high, so a lot of those aftermarket bolt-on kits, they do reposition your foot a little higher than factory. But for me, I kind of like just the OEM. I say it a lot. I like the OEM stuff. I like the way it feels. I'm old. I'm not trying to get out there and ride super aggressive. I just want to enjoy my motorcycle, have fun with it. We're going to go with the stock Dyna setup. However, one of the reasons why today's video is very important is because we have to drill my inner primary. So this setup right here is off my 87. This is off the bike that we're actually turning into a twin cam. And as you see right here, without this thing falling apart, there's a hole all the way through my inner primary, and that's where your shifter shaft actually goes through. We don't have that on this primary. However, like I said earlier in this video, the reason I went with the 99 through 2001, the engine swap kit, is because this thing is actually casted for that shifter shaft. So it actually has the boss right here. You'll notice on the other side, it's machine flat, but it's ready for that piece to go all the way through. It doesn't have any ribs or strengtheners or anything going through this section. I know some of the M8s and some of the other models, they have a lot of stuff going on here. So if you were to choose to do what I'm about to do, you'll actually have to do a lot of machining. You'll have to weld it, build up some material, you know, drill through the build-up material, so forth and so on. I want to drill that hole, and I also want to get rid of this. I see a lot of twin cam swap FXRs still have this piece on there. A lot of guys, I know there's a company that makes like a plug that goes in here, so it looks decorative. And then some guys, like Justin, actually made a little mount to put a light in here, so you can have like an extra little fog light. I want to get rid of it. I still want this bike, as much as I'm doing to this bike, I still want this bike to look almost like it came out of the factory as such. I want people to look at it and be like, oh, it's just a custom painted stock bike. I know it sounds stupid. I know I'm putting a lot of effort and a lot of work into it. There's guys out there that know what I'm talking about when I say I like Harleys to still look and function as a Harley, and I don't want anything out of place. Yes, I could take all this to Justin and have Justin put it in his CNC, drill our hole perfect, cut this, machine it off perfect. But at the end of the day, I wanted to challenge myself, and I wanted to hopefully teach someone at home how to do the same thing or what not to do. Maybe I'm going to screw it up. Maybe I'll ruin this whole thing and it's worth nothing, and you guys at home will know not to do the same thing. So like I said, this is our primary we're keeping. This is the one that came off my old bike. One little trick though, this flange is pretty thick. This right here came from Vulcan Engineering while I was up there in Connecticut, and it actually has a notch already machined in it to clear this bigger flange right there. If I go set this on my primary, and then I put this here, which I have one of the O-rings out, and I go to try to drop it through, it hits. And I cannot use this to make my center punch hole. Yes, I can notch out this little bit of material and use the standard Harley-Davidson one. However, what's kind of nice about these old bikes, So a lot of stuff is actually interchangeable to the point where this 87 primary lines up on all the dowels. It's on there firmly. Everything's nice and buttoned up, except for there's about 2 or 3 holes on this lower portion back here. I think that hole lines up, that. Yeah, it's just these 2 back holes don't line up. That's the only difference that I'm seeing from this primary. I mean, everything else, even this one right there, line up. So with that said, I can put this in here, put a couple screws in this inspection cover, get it centered up on there. Everything's good and tight. Now I can take this, drop it through. It's sitting nice and flush. And then I'm gonna take a center and punch. Each one of these is a different, I don't know what the increments are, probably a 16th or a 32nd of an inch actually. Oh, down to a 64th of an inch. So there's a lot of different sizes. This one is a perfect size. No play, drops all the way in there. And then you're just gonna tap it a few times to leave an impression on our inner primary. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up, but there is a nice indentation right there, and it's dead center in this casting. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set this thing up in the drill press over there. We're gonna center it up, and then we're gonna drill a bunch of holes. Because I'm using a drill press and not like a mill or anything like that, I don't wanna just go to town on it. So I'm gonna start with a smaller drill bit and then step it up a couple sizes each time until we reach 13/16. I know this job's been done 1,000 times, so I'm not trying to act like I'm reinventing the wheel. I'm just trying to use my thought process and what I have here and what tools I have as a starting point. So let's get this thing on the drill press and go from there. Well, it's not the most proper, correct way of doing it, but this will work. What I did was got the back end of our primary kind of set on the table, scooted the table over a little bit so it's got a nice flat surface. Right here where I'm going to drill my hole, right beside it was a machine flat surface, and I basically put a wheel spacer underneath there, and then I stacked some shim washers until it had the same thickness and the same distance as the gap that it was creating. I went ahead and leveled my table, made sure everything was nice and level. You know, I put it this way, leveled it this way, leveled it this way, made sure everything was the same. So we're gonna start off with a smaller drill bit. We're gonna run it down nice and slow. We're gonna keep it plenty lubricated, cut through there. I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 changes of drill bits till we reach the size that we want. Just take your time, don't rush, make sure everything's nice and sturdy. But once you got it locked in, try not to touch anything. You don't want to disrupt, you know, what you got going on right here. So we got the first hole done. It looks good. It's nice and straight. Should be nice and straight, I would imagine. So what we're going to do from here, we're going to go ahead and step this up a couple sizes, drill it again until we finally reach the final hole size of 13/16. So obviously Justin and a mill would do much better than these crappy bits. So these are some really good hardened bits that I've gotten. I've had these for actually a few years now, probably 5 or 6 years. These cut through really good. These things off of Amazon, garbage. You had to work really, really slow, lots of lube. It did cut through there. It just, you see how it looks kind of chewy. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this off, I'll clean it real good, and then I'm gonna get the sleeve through there and make sure my hole is round. Like Ashley said, if it's not round, a bigger O-ring should do the trick, but it is drilled, it's all the way through there. So let's get this thing out of the drill press. Let's get it over to the lift, put everything together and see what happens. All right, so basically what I'm gonna do is I got to cut this down. I need to cut this way, I need to cut this, I need to cut this. So I gotta save this bolt hole. So I'm gonna try to start making a cut. I have grinding bits and stuff like that, so I don't need to get as close to this as I can. So right about in the middle, but I need to make sure I go as straight as I can. think I'm cutting the video off here because I made a mess. I'm filthy, I'm dirty. I don't want to have to go get all cleaned up and to play with the transmission because this aluminum went everywhere, but it worked. It actually looks really good. Let me turn the camera around. So what I was able to do is a couple different methods. You know, you saw me try to use that little air saw. It kind of sucked. I used the cutoff wheel. Then I just ended up pulling out an actual Sawzall, and I was able to get this piece off. It actually went up into that upper bolt right there. So it actually blended way up into there. It's kind of like a little bit of a trick, but I blended this line out. The reason it doesn't blend all the way is because there was this part right here that was machined for the actual shifter shaft itself, and it's forward of this line right here. And I felt like if I blended this line out, then there would have been this weird curve or something that I would have had to try to feather out. Plus it has this indentation right here. So it would have been a curve, indentation, all this kind of stuff going on right there. I just really didn't want to mess with that, to be honest with you. This line feathers out to nothing, just like it does it right here from the factory. That's part of the original cast. It's got a hard line and then it goes to nothing. Once it's powdered, you're not really going to notice it. I was able to blend this out, and then look at that. Look how cool and smooth. I mean, that almost looks like factory casted right there, where it just kind of blends. You know, the thickness is the same right throughout here. So you shouldn't ever really notice that this thing ever had one of these. Shifter shaft's in there. This piece is cut off. We have our transmission prepped and ready to go. Realistically, I'm just waiting on the chrome. Once the chrome comes back, we can go ahead and get this motor back in there. So we'll get the transmission sealed back up and get it all ready to go in the next video. There's a few things I want to go ahead and get done to the frame. I want to get the frame on the lift, show you some things that I need to prep on the frame to get ready for the motor. Yeah, let's get moving forward on this thing. 2026, we're going to have this Twincam FXR done. And I'm shooting for, which I don't think is going to happen, but I am trying to put it out there for myself as a goal for Daytona. But that's in less than 2 months. And like I said, I am still waiting on parts. And I still got a bunch to buy. I want to replace that primary. It's not in the worst condition, but there is a little bubble in it, a couple little scratches. My ADHD or ADD or whatever you want to call it won't let me just put it on the bike and be happy with it. I replace a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be replaced. I could do a YouTube build or a, you know, just a quick build and just throw stuff at it that I just had in bins and they're all scratched up and it's dinged up, and throw mismatch hardware on there. But I'm really trying to just build a bike that I'm proud of and that fellow builders will appreciate. Got this part done. I was really happy with this. This was my goal today. We got it accomplished. So let me clean up my mess. Let's get to editing this video. Let's get this video out there and let's get back on the weekly uploads. I'm really going to try hard to get back to the weekly uploads, and hopefully 2026, I'm on top of it. I'm able to give you guys great content, and let's do some cool stuff. So thank you for following along. Thank you for watching the video and subscribing and liking and all the stuff you guys do. And if you got any questions or whatever, you know where to find me. Till next time, peace.